Thank you. Hello, Michael.
Hi. Oh my God. Good to see you.
You too.
Last time we were here, it was your first visit to the museum, I think.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I remember we traveled around in Stockholm trying to find it.
Yeah.
The cab driver didn't find it, but today everyone knows where it is, obviously.
Yep.
So welcome to Stockholm.
Thank you.
It's a very impressive exhibition you have done here. Have you had time to see it yet?
I just walked in.
Yeah.
And I'm apologizing for being late also because the airplane was late, so SAS, what can I say? No, it wasn't, it was British. Sorry, just teasing.
So how do you feel when you see all these images shot by different times put together like this?
Yeah, it's really nice, and it sometimes is slightly overwhelming to think that I did this much work, because you sort of get on with it as an artist. You sort of do something every month or every couple of sessions a month, and then you forget about what you've done. So coming back into a room like this and seeing everything reminds me of all the great experiences working with these extraordinary people. And each photograph has a memory and a story.
When I see this, I had a quick walk here before, and I see all these celebrities and all these people, and everyone looks so calm and so relaxed and
Drugs.
and since I work with fashion and photography as well, not as a photographer, but I try to get these people to stand in front of the camera, and I know how difficult it is to make them feel comfortable and relaxed. So I wonder, what's your skill, or what's your trick to make them feel so comfortable with you?
I don't know. I never really thought about that, to be fair. I just think people are usually how they are. I mean, when you come in to do a session of photographs, it isn't like people are generally uptight. Most times when someone says yes to doing a picture, they're already comfortable with the situation. And so I've rarely encountered people to be uptight. So to be honest, I haven't done anything. They've just been themselves.
And you're just yourself.
Sorry?
Maybe you are just yourself as well. Maybe that helps a bit.
Yeah, perhaps. I think, these aren't obviously all the first pictures of the day. You know, I mean, so if we looked at the picture behind me, for example, I mean, that picture was taken, that was the last picture of the day. Maybe the first picture he wasn't so comfortable, you know. So, I mean, it just takes time.
I remember when we worked together in London. I managed to get Bryan to do a shoot for H&M, so it was a commercial work, and I was quite surprised when I realized that the studio was actually next to your kitchen in your home in London. Maybe that's one of the reasons why people feel so comfortable, because
Food.
Food.
Yeah.
Food, and they get to see your home and come to your private.
Well, it's, you know, the studio is actually not in the. It's sort of the lower part of the house. The actual house is above. So, but it's a nice space, and so there's lots of light, and I don't really. A lot of people go, oh, but do you live in London? It's like, yeah. Oh, where? Well, upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I know, but it still feels like you're coming home.
Does it?
You have your kitchen there and everything. It looks very nice.
Thank you.
So most photographers I work with, they always have this trick, even though you don't think you have something. But some photographers, they play only 70s disco to make, the talent comfortable. And one photographer, he always makes the model or the talent to catch tennis balls. He pretends he's throwing up tennis balls and demands them, you have to catch it just to make them, relax in front of the camera or feel easy. Do you have any tricks like that? Because I think you must have something, because this is too good to be just...
I don't use balls.
No?
There's no trick. I honestly, I mean, they just, like I say, there's a whole process that go into getting the right picture, and as long as everyone's accepted that they're going to do the photograph that day, then you just go through the day till you get the right picture.
Yeah. So how do you prepare then?
Prepare?
Yeah, for a shoot.
I remember one particular person said, 12:30, the session's at 12:30. I said, yeah, I'll be there. And they arrived at 11:30, and they said to my assistant, where is he? He's supposed to be here at 12:30. She says, well, it's 11:30. He'll be here at 12:30. Okay, well, I'm here at 11:30, so he better be here at 12:30. Yeah, okay. So 12:30 on the nose, I arrived, and she said, so where's your assistant? Where's your lighting? What's going on? Yeah, I'm here waiting for you for an hour. I pulled my camera out of my back pocket and said, could you stand against the wall, please? There we go. Done. Thank you. She goes, that's it? I said, well, we can do a few more if you like.
Yeah.
And so that sort of broke the ice.
Yeah.
She thought that was funny.
Very funny.
No, but it was also exactly that's the way I was doing those pictures. I had a small camera, and that's how I was doing the pictures. It wasn't like there was a big setup.
No. So how is the setup then? Do you have a big team for some shoots, or do you usually have a small set?
It really depends on what I'm doing. So if it's a fashion thing, that there's usually a couple other people involved, because maybe the lighting needs to be more specific. Or if it's location, definitely you need more people just to haul stuff around. But my team is quite small comparative to what I've seen from other people. Yeah.
So what's the most important for you, the idea or the execution of the picture?
Well, both, really. I mean, I've always got an idea before I go into it, and then it's just a matter of again, finding that moment. It's weird to sort of analyze it, because it's not something you can really analyze pictures. It's just, it's almost like catching a feeling, It's catching a moment.
So when you shoot a celebrity, for instance, do you have to present the idea before?
Sometimes, yeah.
And how much happens during the shoot, and how much is prepared and staged before?
Well, no matter how much you prepare for something, it's always going to be different on the day, because even if you put together a selection of mood images or something, this is kind of what I want to do today, da-da-da-da-da. When you get there and you're finally doing it, it's different, because you have a different person in front of the camera than your mood. The light's not going to be the same as your mood, and so you just have to, you go with what that moment is. But the way it is these days with people that are quite well known, they want to know what they're getting into before they get into it. So, and generally it's not even them, it's the people that work for them, it's the PR people.
Yeah.
They're special.
For sure.
That's a special group of people.
And how do you convince these people to do all these things? Robert De Niro sitting on a beach in a suit, or...
Well, you mean Dustin Hoffman?
Dustin Hoffman,
well,
yeah.
That was his idea, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, he wanted to shoot at his beach house.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, so we went down there, and the idea was to shoot him in tuxedos. But there are certain people that get involved in what they're doing, so it wasn't difficult to convince Dustin of anything. You could tell him to do anything, he'd be up for it. Seriously.
Have you done it?
Yeah, he's one of the greatest people to work with.
So when you prepare for a shoot, do you have to prepare like differently if you shoot a celebrity or a wounded soldier? I mean, like mentally, how you as a photographer prepare for the actual shoot. if you're shooting someone where you have someone who has been shot maybe 10,000 times and someone who has just arrived from war and maybe never been shot like this.
Right. Well, it is quite different, in fact, very different. And in some cases with the soldiers, they'd never been in a professional situation in the studio before. So what I would do in that particular case was I would show them pictures that I've done of their colleagues, of other people that I'd done in the series. And so by seeing that work, they were able to go, oh, okay. And that would make them relax into it. And with people that have been shot thousands of times, you can't, there's nothing you can say. You just have to go and do it. And if it's someone really professional, a professional model, then they're going to be giving you stuff that you didn't expect because they know which way their lighting looks best. And I've had models come in and go, no, that's not going to look good on me. Can you just change the light? And you do.
You do?
Yeah, I have.
So who is most important to please when you do a shoot? Is it yourself,
well,
or is it the talent?
I don't mind going down the journey because if they know something I don't about themselves, then it could be beneficial. So particularly if, in this case, when I mentioned that, it was an older person, so they had a particular angle they liked to be shot on. So I don't want to mess with that, you know. Yeah, just you want people to feel good about what you're doing. I never want to make someone feel like they're, obliged to do this. This is a collaboration.
Yeah. And what is the reaction you want to have from the viewer then, when you take a photo?
Well, I don't think about that. I only think about whether I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So if I'm happy with that picture, that's enough. That's it.
And have you ever made a photo that has really gained a lot of attention that you actually hear about? Because I guess as a photographer you don't hear so much about the reactions from the photos you're producing.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally. I mean, if you hit something, like if it's Amy Winehouse or if it's the Queen, or if it's a very well publicized project like the Soldiers project, people will react.
So last night I met a very famous music producer.
Okay. What's his name?
I can't tell you, but I think you know him.
Is he Swedish?
He's Swedish.
Okay, and Max? Yeah.
It might be, but he's won a lot of awards and he's written a lot of good songs, quite successful songs. And he said that the thing...
Did I write with him by any chance?
Maybe. But the thing that drives him to continue is to write the perfect song. And he still feels that he hasn't done that yet. So I was thinking, how do you feel when it comes to photography? Have you taken the perfect picture?
Wow, what a question. I don't know. I think that's up to other people to make that sort of judgment. All the pictures here I really like and I think are good for what they are. In some cases, I think they're really good. So otherwise I wouldn't have been involved in an exhibition. So, I mean, the perfect picture, I don't know. I think it's such a subjective question, whether it's perfect for one is maybe not perfect for another.
No, perfect for you.
Perfect for me, my standards are pretty high, and so if I'm at this, when I come to do an exhibition, these pictures are all pictures I'm really pleased with. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm just waiting to see if you dare to say this is the perfect one or.
Yeah, I don't. Well, that's a good one. I like that one.
I love it.
I like that one.
So you've been taking pictures for more than 20 years. You shot everyone from the Queen to wounded soldiers. What made you start taking pictures more seriously than anyone does?
I suppose it was because I have a music career also, and so I was interested in doing my own album covers. And I remember a funny story. I went to do a photo session with a photographer for my album, and he had done a picture of David Bowie, which I really liked, and I was quite excited to work with him. And I said, you know, 'cause when my record company came to me, they said, here's a group of different photographers. And I said, oh, this guy, I like this guy. And so on the day I arrived, I said, oh, you know, we started doing pictures, and I was like, this lighting is quite different to your other work. He goes, oh, really? Yeah. I said, yeah, it's quite different. I mean, I really like that picture you took of David Bowie. And he went, I've never worked with David Bowie. Well, yeah. And I looked at the woman from the record company. She's like, uh-oh. And they'd chosen the wrong photographer.
Yeah.
So I sort of went along for a few hours, and it didn't work out.
So then what happened? Did you find the right one, or did you do it yourself?
I did it myself.
You did?
Yeah.
And what cover was this?
It was for an album called On a Day Like Today.
Hmm.
And what I ended up doing was I had a camera which I used on a remote control, and I had an assistant, and I brought it to my video shoot. And I also used some photographs I'd taken during the recording process and put it together, and it made sense to me because it was part of the video, it was part of the recording process. It wasn't like an individual shoot that was outside of the recording. I thought it all tied in, and it worked out fine.
And did you feel then that this is something I want to continue with, or was it something that developed over time?
It just developed, and then I started doing pictures of friends and actors, you know, that needed headshots, and then I worked with Linda Evangelista back in '98, and those pictures got syndicated by somebody, another magazine, and then I started getting phone calls. And Marie Claire magazine was the first magazine to hire me internationally, and British Marie Claire. And then another job got offered to me, and then I started getting phone calls about it. So that's how it started.
And how did you feel then? Did it scare you that you found another profession that made you so in demand or successful, or was it just a hobby? Or
I wasn't terribly in demand. It was just the calls would come in, and I have this problem and I don't know how to say no to things. So people say, "Yeah, you want to do this? Yeah, come on, let's do it." You know, and so just go and see if it works, and that's how it all started.
So when did you then feel that this is actually something I'm really good at?
I don't think that at all. I think I'm still learning. You know, photography isn't something that you just suddenly get good at. It's always changing. And I look at some of my early work here compared to some of my more recent work, and I can see the differences. But that's the natural evolution of anything you do artistically. It just takes a lot of time, and the more you work at it, I think the better you get at it.
And did you ever have a mentor during these early years that you could contact or talk with?
Yeah, back in the 90s, I was friends with Herb Ritz, and he was very generous to me, and it was sort of the first time I used to carry my Rolleiflex camera around with me on tour, and my first photographs. So Rolleiflex is a small German camera. They don't make them anymore. It was a film camera, obviously. And I'd phoned up his office because we'd all been friends. I said, is it possible I could use his studio for... No, sorry, really. He's never lent a studio out, but, you know, thanks for calling. And then my phone rang about 10 minutes later and said, I just talked to Herb, and he said you could come over anytime and you can have whatever you need. So I spent a summer there, and it was kind of like baptism by fire, because suddenly I had 3 assistants. I had one guy taking a light reading, I had another guy loading film, another guy adjusting the camera. You know, so I went from my little camera to suddenly having this team. And so I learned over that summer how things go from one level to the next, and that was a very good sort of introduction into the more professional side of things.
And then you were shooting on film, right?
Yes.
And how do you shoot today?
I shoot in digital. Yeah.
And how is that compared to film? Because this is a big issue in the photography world.
Well, you know, I always, young photographers that I speak to, I always tell them to kind of ignore the darkroom now, because it's not, you know, it's a waste of your time and your money. You'd be better off learning Photoshop. And if you're going to go to school for it and go to study photography, you're better off studying what's happening right now, because the film world's never going to come back like it was. It's not. It's just not. It's a niche thing. For some photographers are still into it, but it's just not what it used to be. And it's more difficult, it's more expensive, and it's not as practical. So for all those reasons, that's what I stay on digital for.
And how do you feel when everything today is digital and everything is accessible, meaning you can't really control your pictures anymore as a photographer? You shoot something and all of a sudden it's on someone's Facebook. I mean, it could be good. I remember when Amy Winehouse died, I saw your pictures everywhere on Facebook, because a lot of people posted it as a tribute. But I've also seen your pictures being used in other ways. Maybe reproduced.
Really?
Yeah.
What other ways?
No, I mean, if you Google them, they can be reproduced with a bad quality. I mean, as a...
Oh yeah, no, there's nothing you can do about that.
No. So how do
I
you
mean,
feel
it's
about
happening right now, actually, with Hillary Clinton. I did a photograph of her, and it's being syndicated everywhere. And there's just nothing you can do about it. It's just the way it is. That's the modern world.
Yeah.
You know.
So you don't try to stop it by...
No.
No. Because a lot of photographers are very into that.
Yeah.
Googling themselves to find. Oops.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't think about it really. I don't think you can. I mean, being that I come from the music world and I already know that there's no way you can control that, I can't imagine that images are any easier.
No.
You know, I chose the two most bootlegged professions you can possibly choose. You know, you know.
Maybe next is a fashion designer. Make handbags.
Yeah, but even then, I think you have more control on a sort of tactile thing than you do on a media transferable object. You know, like MP3 or JPEGs are just, you know, that's the world of the internet.
Yeah. So I have a question. When I walked around here again, I saw all these super amazing, talented people, and I guess, or I wonder, is there still anyone that you are dying to shoot? I mean, you shot most of the hard to get people
Really?
in the world.
Yeah, no, there's lots of people I'd like to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, who are they?
Well, see, first person that comes to mind would be Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come?
Well, I just really like him. I like it. I think he's got a great Instagram page too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what's he posting?
you should check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. But I like him. I like people that are sort of a bit rougher. You know, I do like glamorous as well, but I tend to sort of lean towards the rougher side of things.
Is that because you shoot a lot of fashion, where everything is about being very polished, or what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not very polished.
No, but you're kind, coming here to Sweden.
Yes.
It's a long journey.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so we have Stallone.
Yeah.
Who else is on your
I don't
wish
know.
list?
I mean, there's a few people, but it's it isn't like I'm sort of actively trying to do it. It's like I feel like eventually it might happen.
So do you wait for the moment, like you bump into each other and you ask them, can you come to my place? Or do you have someone who makes the first contact, and how does it work?
Generally with actors or something, you know, I'll write a note to their manager or something and say we'd be up for doing something together, and then usually it takes about a year or something to sort it out, because people are busy, and then you meet somebody. Like, for example, I worked with the Danish actor Mads Mikkelsen recently, and we'd been talking, with his manager for a couple of years. And then I met him at an awards show. Hey, man, we should do something. Yeah, okay, let's do it. And that's how it came together.
And how do you work? Do you have like a time slot in your schedule when you do photo only, or do you combine it so you could be one day on stage and the day after you go to the studio? Or
yeah, sometimes I can actually book tours around photo sessions and photo sessions around tours and that sort of thing. Because I'm traveling all over the world, yeah, it's nice to sometimes fit things in.
And what pays for what?
Now that's a good question. Well, there ain't a lot of money in photos.
So it's good to be able to sing
Yeah,
a few songs.
It's good that I got a day job as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So, who have you shot the most times? Because when I walk around here once again, I see a few persons that are more frequently shot, like Amy, for instance.
I did a lot of work with Amy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, the first time I approached her was before her Back in Black record had sort of taken off. And I think that once you were sort of in Amy's world, she just stuck with you. And so she would call me and say, can you do this? Can you do that? Would you like to come and do this? Can you get me some prints from my boyfriend? He's in jail.
Okay.
And that kind of thing. And so we would just, work together. And her manager was really cool, and it was just easy, And there was a familiarity.
And when you do a shoot like that with someone like her, how do you work like with one camera and just you and her, or do you have a team following you, putting the light together, or?
It depends. The picture of her here was for Harper's Bazaar in America, and the photograph of her over there behind the wall, which you can't see from here, but it's her next to a bamboo wall, was just taken with my Rolleiflex. So I still carry that camera around with me with a roll of film, just in case.
I love those pictures.
Thanks. So, yeah.
So when you walk in here, I saw your project, Wounded.
Yeah.
It's very strong. How did you come up with that project and that idea to shoot these soldiers?
Well, I was approached by a journalist from ITN in London. Her idea was she wanted to do something because at that particular time, a lot of people were coming back from Iraq, and the story in the press was, we're just going to go in there and it's going to be shock and awe, and then we're going to be out of there. Of course, as we now see, it's quite the contrary. The whole place is destabilized. But when the men and women were coming back from Iraq onto the high street and people were seeing them, they would take their children and, don't go near them. There was a real phobia. They didn't understand. And so her idea was, let's make this more accessible to people so people understand this is what's happening now. And she wanted to do a calendar. And I said, well, I don't know about a calendar. Maybe there's something. Maybe there's an exhibition or something. Let's start the project and let's see what happens. And then 5 years later, we had amassed these photographs. I went to Steidl, my book publisher in Germany, and I said, what do you think? He said, let's do a book. And so we put together the book. And I think if we'd done it quickly, the project wouldn't have realized its potential as much as it has now, because it's become a real document to a particular time. There's nothing like it out there. In fact, even if you Google wounded soldiers now, it's very hard to find pictures that are like these ones, because it took a lot of time to get the people. A lot of guys said no, they weren't up for it.
How did you get hold of them or get in contact with them? Like, how do you reach out?
Well, it's kind of like this. Someone, you and I are talking. I say, hey, do you know anybody else that's in your situation? He goes, yeah, I know lots of people. I said, do you know anybody, for example, in the Scots Guards? Yeah, one of my friends is in the Scots Guards. Can you call him? Yeah, here, call him. And he said, yeah, okay. And he called me, and the next thing you know, the guy had come down. So it became very word of mouth. And so when enough people had done it, they'd say, yeah, it was cool. You know, you can go down, you're safe there. And so that's how it happened.
And
It was
how
all
did
word
it-
of mouth.
How did it affect you to be among them? Did it give you strength, or did it make you angry with society, or just?
Well, I was already quite angry about the fact that they'd gone, but I mean, I felt really proud of them, you know, that they were able to be so open, and all of them are super nice. All of them are really, their lives have completely changed from what, you know, they can't kick a football to their son, but you know, a lot of people have gone on to have families, and their lives have, you know, entered a new dimension. It was hard sometimes, though. It was really hard, particularly when the young ones were coming in, like 18, 19-year-olds were coming in with no legs. It was just like, you know.
What reactions have you got from doing something like this?
In terms of what?
I mean, media, or from your fans in music, or did everyone?
I can't really judge those kind of things. I mean, I know that it got a great reception in the UK, because obviously the soldiers are from the UK. It got the royal seal of approval because Harry came to my exhibition, and he's involved a lot with the wounded as well. And so I think from that perspective, it got the right kind of attention, and the book sold out. So
Yeah. And do you work with something similar right now, a project?
I've been trying, but again, I'm having difficulty doing it, and it's a slightly more adventurous project. I can't really talk about it because it's not there yet. And then I've got a book of abstract things which I've just done, which is completely different to this. But that book comes out in September, and it's pictures of sand. I know.
From where?
It was a difficult subject. What? From a beach, a black.
From just one beach?
One beach, yeah.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. It's really fun. Beaches are fun.
How big is the edition?
It's 1,000 copies.
Good.
Yeah, it's very, very limited. Yeah.
So I have one last question, and it might sound silly, but what makes you want to take a picture? Can it be anything?
Yeah. I get excited about putting things together. So, you know, the idea of being creative on like I've already got 2 or 3 shoots planned for the next, few months, and each one of them is great. You know, I've got a lot of excitement about how I'm going to do it and where I'm going to do it and who I'm doing it with. So, what makes me want to take any picture? Well, actually, you know, I use this more than anything else now these days because it just happens to be in my pocket, you know. And I like playing with my Instagram, and so sometimes I'm thinking about that as well. But what makes me want to take a picture? Just because something's there, you know. It's like I said earlier, it's the idea of catching a memory, and I think that's what photographs are. They're little memories. So, yeah, I'm a memory catcher.
Good. Thank you.
Not at all. My pleasure. Thank you. Are we going to have lunch, or is this going to be it?
They're gonna talk to you now.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, I'm Johan. I'm a former UN soldier and now a freelance service. And I wonder about your military background or your family's military background.
You want to know what my father's military?
Yeah, I heard somewhere that you had some kind of, and if that is...
Yeah, it's true. All my family, except my brother and I, have been in the British Army. And so my grandfathers were Royal Engineers. So...
Is that why you are so... that you did this
Well, it was interesting. I mean, obviously, with having come from a military family, you know, it definitely interests me. But I'm kind of the opposite of a lot of my family, in that I'm much more of a pacifist than they are. That must be my mother's side of the family. No, but actually, even my grandfather on my mother's side was in the British Army. So, thank you. Yes.
Have you experienced any photo sessions that didn't work out with celebrities?
There's been photo sessions that haven't worked out, but I can only think of one really, and it wasn't with a celebrity. I remember with one particular celebrity, I did a shoot, and he was saying, "Hey, you know, let's get those chicks on the balcony to come in the photo shoot," and I was like, "Okay." And then the PR person would go, "You're not getting those fucking chicks in the party. You better." Okay. And then he'd say, "Hey, did you get the chicks in the photograph?" I said, "Okay. Hey, girls, you want to come in the photo?" "Oh, yay, let's get in the photograph." And so they get in the photograph, and she goes, "Okay, that's it, we're done." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Photo session's over." I said, "Well, he wanted the girls in there. You know, it wasn't, you know, it's like, you'd totally overridden what I said to you, blah, 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 blah." I said, I'll say, "Okay, we're done. Bye." Good photo, though. He was right. He was right. What's that?
You don't want to tell us who it was?
I don't think it's fair. You know, I don't mind telling a little bit out of school, but I mean, I think it's better to keep things a little bit, you know, private. Anyone else? Yes.
There are so many interesting people here in the pictures, and I'm just wondering, do you have any stories behind them, like kind of a memory that you keep to you?
Okay. Well, there's kind of stories behind all of them. I mean, just some are more interesting than others. A lot of the pictures here are taken because I publish a magazine out of Germany called Zoo Magazine, and so Zoo's become sort of my playground. And you know, in some cases it's music based, like in that room over there where you have Rammstein, and in other cases it's. In fact, the reason I met Amy Winehouse was because of that. I like working with Boy George here behind the camera, and in fact, when he arrived at my studio, I didn't recognize him. I didn't, because I was I don't know, I guess I was expecting Karma Chameleon to walk in or something. and then it dawned on me that it was George. Took me a minute, but those photographs were really fun because they were done with Jean-Paul Gaultier as the stylist, and who was incredibly good fun. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but he's the best person you could have working on a set because he's so much fun and really an icebreaker. Yes?
He's actually doing perfumes for the moment, not working with fashion anymore.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Jean-Paul Gaultier.
What about Jean?
He's doing perfumes because he thinks that fashion is so dead due to the consumers, you know, behavior and all the cravings we have. I'm actually having a question for you as a rock star and how you went into the photography. Did you feel any difficulties from your rock friends when you entered another business?
I actually got, I did, not from my rock friends, no, they were quite up for it, you know.
They're so cool, and you know, they're like...
No, the musicians are cool. I tell you what wasn't so cool was there was a couple of photographers, one particular photographer in the UK, and there was a month where I think I had 2 or 3 different covers on some magazines, and he wrote me a note saying, "Right, give everybody else a chance. Who the fuck do you think you are doing this, you know?" And I said, "Hey," I wrote him back, I said, "Hey man, we're all in the same thing, you know, it just happens this month was kind of a good month, you know. Can I buy you a cup of tea or something, you know?" and you know, "That's it, swords at dawn," he said, "swords at dawn." Swords, like you get the swords out, we're gonna have a duel, you know. I said, "Man, come on, just it's only pictures, you know." Yeah. I'll give you every detail but the name. So actually, no, everyone's been pretty cool except him. And now I think he's cool too. Yes?
What do you think about celebrities, actually? I mean, don't you think it's somehow overwhelming, and is that necessary is it a necessity to photograph celebrities?
Well, you know, one of the things I did when I first started out was I was doing photographs of celebrities to raise money for breast cancer, and some of the first projects I did were for that cause. And so, you know, as someone that's in the public myself, I realized the power you have as a public person in order to instigate change, and you can, by using that power in a positive way, you can raise money, you can raise awareness, and so there is a validity to using celebrity in the right way. So yes, it can be overpowering, but generally people are people, and so I always go in with the attitude of people are people, but that's how I started in some ways getting involved in that celebrity side of things.
But then you must be happy when you have some kind of a message from a celebrity, because you don't know them from the beginning, or do you? You know?
No, I don't know. Half the people that are in this room I met through pictures. In fact, most of them, I'll say that, were all through photography. And it's fascinating because first of all, I really like people, and I like finding the aspect of what's going to make an interesting photograph of somebody. So it's been a really great adventure, you know, because most musicians, and this is something most people don't realize, is that most musicians live in a bubble, and you don't get outside that bubble. You have your tour manager, you got your manager, you got, you know, your band, and you got your crew, and you got your girlfriend, and then she leaves, and then, you know, so, you know, you have your bubble, and that's it, and it's very hard to get out of that bubble. So what's interesting about this world is I've been able to get out of my bubble and see another side of the world.
You don't have any girlfriend? No, I'm sorry.
Ah.
Okay.
Yes.
You've been to Stockholm a couple of times. Do you have any special photo memories from here, or what else?
Photo memories other than working with Michael?
Mm-hmm. Or if you've been through town and just taken a photo shot, something you think is beautiful, or...
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful place. I haven't actually documented anything here other than just snaps for myself. I think I've got a few pictures of my guitarist on the ground after being at the nightclub one night, but it's not very pretty. Yes?
I'm just a voice for Natalie here.
Hi, Natalie.
Have you ever mixed your music to your photos, like being inspired by your own music when taking pictures?
The only way I've done that is through video. I've done my own videos. You know, it's narcissism gone wild. But that's the only way I've done it. I've just shot my own videos.
Okay.
No still photographs, per se.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes?
Technical question about the retouching. Like
Yeah.
afterwards, I guess you have your own team of
Mhm.
retouchers. How involved are you in this sketch part? Like,
I'm very involved.
How good are you in Photoshop?
Well, you know, being that I came from the film world, and I understood how important it was, because the earliest photographs I took when I discovered printing, that's when I really discovered photographs. And I found a printer in London that did black and white, and I found a printer in London that did color. And so the way it used to work before the internet was around was you'd get a package sent to you when the photographs were done. And so when it would arrive in my mailbox, it was like Christmas time. You'd open it up, and then my crappy negatives were turned into these beautiful prints. So as I got more and more involved in pictures, I realized the potential of dodging and burning and taking things out and darkening things down and lightening areas up. The whole printing process is fascinating thing. I was showing a friend of mine yesterday, I posted something on my Instagram about, there's just a picture of me on a train, but the way I developed the picture made it much more interesting than the actual color picture from the phone, because it was, the color picture on the phone just looked like any old picture, but the way it was developed, it made it much more interesting. So with Photoshop, it's the same thing. It's a virtual darkroom, and you can develop, as everyone knows, and you can take things to any extent you want. The secret is not to take it too far, you know. Yes?
When I googled your name, a picture of Guy Antwoord came up.
Okay.
Have you worked with them?
Yes, there are 2 photographs over there.
Yeah. How they're like, when you see interviews of them and other stuff, they're very special.
Yeah.
How was it working with them?
Brilliant. It was really fun and very collaborative. They're on their own level of creativity. You can just literally be an observer. Interestingly, the photographs I took mostly were of during the day, where he painted some murals on the wall of this warehouse space, and then at the last minute I said, can we just put up a piece of white paper, and I just did 2 photographs of them on the white paper, and those are my favorite ones of the day, because it just shows them without all the abstraction behind them. But they were great fun. Yes?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about when I'm going to write my article, would you be labeled as singer or photographer? Which one is first?
What, I mean, when I'm dead?
No, actually.
Now,
Oh, when you're dead, if you want to notice that, if you want to.
I think.
Right now, who are you?
Well, I mean, I think people would, you know, if you were trying to gauge, you know, the popularity of one versus the other, I mean, certainly music has had, you know, 30, 40 years of time to incubate, and most people don't know that I take pictures. You know, I don't publicize it very much, and it's really sort of more people in the world of photography they would know, and so I would say that people would know me more as a musician. In fact, I think if you go to my Wikipedia page, which is probably the most annoying page on the whole internet, but you know, I don't even know if I'm listed as a photographer on it. So I should say it right there.
You can edit it.
I don't want to have
It's
anything.
free to edit.
No, thanks. Go ahead, though. Anyone else? Yes.
I wonder about your view on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And has your work with the wounded British soldiers made your view change in a way?
Well, as I said earlier, I've never been. I mean, I was not an advocate to go in the first place, so my view hasn't changed. No, I still think it was a big mistake. You know, that's as political as I get today, by the way. Anyone else? Great. Well, thanks very much for coming. Oh, go ahead.
In being a father, has that changed your way of looking at your work and so on?
Well, I know my iPhone's pretty full of videos of, you know, gobbledygook and funny things that happen every day. I think it's inevitable that when you become a parent, that things change for you. I mean, it's pretty normal.
Do you take the same sort of photos, and do you take a lot of photos on kids and so on?
I don't know if it's affected my professional work, but that much. No, I think my work is always developing. But so it may have had some impact on some level. I'm not sure if I could analyze it that way. But it's a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. I mean, what you do to learn from having kids is how the innocence and the openness they have to things.
What do you like to do with your kids when you have spare time? What do you like to do with your kids?
Well, I think I do what most fathers do with their kids. We play, go to the park, and teaching her how to ride a bicycle right now. I've come up with a whole album worth of really stupid songs, which only makes sense to her. And Yeah, and teaching her how to play piano too.
Are they musical?
Well, they're only 5 and 3, so it's, you know,
Okay.
yeah, they're really musical. From all ends.
I have a last question.
Okay.
Are you going to stop here, or are you going to try something else? You are a musician, you're a photographer. What will be the next step?
Oh, I don't know if let's see. It's kind of I'm kind of busy right now. I don't know if I'd have much time to fit anything else in. And I'm doing what I want to do. Yeah, so I think this is plenty for now. Bryan Adams, master chef. I don't know. Come to my restaurant.
Good outsource Gordon, actually.
What's that?
You could outsource Gordon. Outsource Gordon. Ramsey.
Oh, no. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it and enjoyed talking to you all. Thank you.